The vault beneath Titan. The dig team had no idea what they were about to unleash. Titan's icy crust groaned under the weight of the Thari deep-bore drills, steaming mist spiraling up as machines churned deeper into the ancient moon. Captain Vexer of the Thari Science Corps stood atop the command platform, his chitinous arms folded behind his back, his compound eyes reflecting the black glass vault that had just emerged from beneath the ice. No seams, no visible entry points, just a perfectly smooth monolith embedded in basalt and permafrost, humming at frequencies no Thari instrument could decode. This structure predates all known architectures, noted scholar Erex, her tendrils twitching with anticipation. It may belong to the originators. Vexer's mandibles clicked in amusement, or to something older. Either way, the High Council will want what's inside. They activated their disruptors, bombarding the structure with phase sound and quantum shear charges. The vault remained unmoved for 6 hours. Then, without warning, a single slit formed along its front face. Vapor hissed out, and the temperature dropped 20 degrees in seconds. A door opened. Inside lay a single being, humanoid, massive, encased in a glass-like stasis cradle. They scanned the body. Carbon-based, oxygen-dependent, DNA terrifyingly complex. Homo sapiens. But that's impossible, Arex whispered. The humans were extinct long before the galactic expansion began. We've mapped every ruin. There were no survivors. Vexer narrowed his gaze at the slumbering giant. Then what is this? They initiated the wake sequence. Cain opened his eyes. It wasn't sleep he woke from, it was silence. A long, endless silence that stretched beyond memory. His limbs felt like stone, but his mind snapped back like a coiled blade. He sat up. Light flooded his vision. Cold mist swirled off his skin, and every Thari in the room stumbled backward at the sight of him rising. Naked, scarred, human. Where, he rasped, voice low and guttural, am I? Erex stepped forward. You are among the Thari Dominion. You were preserved inside an ancient vault. But Cain wasn't listening. His eyes scanned the walls, the tools, the alien faces. He didn't recognize the language, the equipment, or the stars visible beyond the observation glass. But something deep inside him stirred. A fire. A warning. They don't belong. He stepped off the cradle. Sensors screamed. Power fluctuated across the entire facility. Grav fields destabilized. Screens went dark. The energy readings surged off scale. Vexer drew his plasma staff. Contain him. The guards moved. Cain raised one hand. The staff crumpled midair. Armor buckled on the guards as an invisible force pulsed outward. Metal groaned, cracked, liquefied. Every Thari in the room fell to their knees. Cain blinked. He didn't remember how he did it, only that it was instinct. Power is failing, someone shouted. He's draining the core. Alarms blared. Lights burst into sparks overhead. Cain turned toward a reflection in the shattered glass. His own face, older than it should be, eyes glowing faintly amber. What was he now? He moved through the base, slowly, methodically. Doors melted. Walls parted. He reached the central chamber and placed his palm on the mainframe. Images flooded his mind. Galactic maps, alien languages, histories spanning thousands of years. Earth was gone. Humanity erased. The Thari had ruled for millennia. They thought him extinct. He smiled. On the bridge of the orbiting command ship, Vexer watched through a widescreen feed as the humans stepped out of the facility and into Titan's sulfuric winds. A dropship near the surface exploded seconds later, without visible contact. Activate planetary defense grid, he barked, but the command was too late. Cain looked up at the sky, and the battleship's engines flared out. Gravity twisted. The ship shook as magnetic fields turned inside out. Vexer backed away from the screen, mandibles clicking in terror. What is he? Scholar Erex spoke in a broken whisper. He's not an originator. He's worse. He's human. Memory of fire. Cain stood on Titan's surface, the wind screaming across his bare skin. The cold bit into him, but he didn't flinch. His body was already adapting. Bones thickening. Muscles tightening. blood chemistry shifting to resist the atmospheric toxins. Every breath brought more clarity. The stars overhead were different. He didn't recognize the constellations. That alone chilled him more than the wind. Time had passed, far too much. Behind him, the Thari facility burned from within. The stasis chamber was now slag. The Thari scientists were gone. Those who hadn't fled had collapsed in seizures from proximity to his awakening. Cain didn't know exactly what he was yet, but he remembered flashes, training under Europa's red ice domes, battles on lunar plains, armor so advanced it responded to his thoughts. He had been a soldier once. More than that, a sentinel, one of Earth's last defenders during the final collapse. And then, darkness. How long had he been frozen? A shadow passed overhead. He looked up. The Thari battleship, the one that had been observing him, now hovered in low orbit. It was adjusting course, positioning weapons. He could feel it, literally feel it. The electromagnetic fields throbbed like heartbeats in his skull. Inside the ship, General Zeltor, High Commander of the Thari Dominion's Outer Ring, issued a single command. Fire the black matter cannon. The weapon was designed to erase matter itself. No explosion, no radiation, just clean annihilation. It had only been fired twice in Thari history. Both times, the target had ceased to exist. Now it fired again. A beam of darkness lanced from the sky, striking Cain directly. For a moment, there was silence. Then a tremor. Then the impossible. Cain walked through the smoke. His skin glowed faintly, molten veins of orange pulsing under the surface. His eyes were closed, as if the blast had annoyed him rather than harmed him. Zeltor reeled back from the observation screen. That's not a soldier. That's a god. No, said Erex beside him. That's a human. They once fought entire empires with their bare hands. We just forgot. The Thari scrambled. Automated countermeasures activated. Cain was marked as a Class 7 existential threat. But it didn't matter. He moved faster now. The cold no longer slowed him. He leapt high, too high, and came crashing down onto a surface skimmer headed to orbit. It crumpled beneath him, and he stepped from it mid-descent, landing on a second vessel in mid-air. One by one, he used their own machines as stepping stones to the upper atmosphere. Inside the battleship, alarms blared. Shields failed. Systems blinked out. Cain crashed through the lower hull in a storm of torn alloy and shattered force fields. Thari soldiers opened fire with arc rifles and neurodarts. Cain walked through the barrage. Bullets warped away. Plasma dissolved before touching his skin. He wasn't armored, but he didn't need to be. He reached for a Thari officer and touched his forehead with 2 fingers. The officer screamed once and collapsed. Not dead. Changed. Cain didn't understand it either. But the deeper he reached into himself, the more the stasis protocols unraveled his limits. It wasn't just strength or resilience. His mind was becoming something else, linked to machines, gravitational fields, biology, a living command system, a relic of a human empire too dangerous to survive its own genius. He moved through the halls like a storm. Every locked door opened before him. The ship's AI screamed warnings, then shut down entirely. Its core fell silent when Cain passed its chamber. He found the navigation room. Star maps flickered around him. He pressed a hand to the console, and his pupils dilated. He saw Earth, labeled as Preservation Sector 0, a restricted zone, no intelligent life, declared extinct by Conglomerate Order 11792. They had turned his home into a graveyard. Cain's voice came low, almost reverent. No. He looked toward the ship's bridge. Set course for Earth. The ship obeyed, without needing a pilot. High above Titan, the blackness shifted. The Thari Dominion's flagship, burned, battered, but intact, rotated slowly, aligning toward Sol. The few surviving Thari aboard scrambled in fear as the vessel, now possessed by something older than their empire, leapt into faster-than-light transit. One word echoed in its databanks, pulsing through every system. Cain, the return to Earth. The stars stretched into lines, then lines into nothing. Cain stood alone on the Thari battleship's bridge, hands behind his back, watching the swirling void of FTL transit bend and shimmer around him. He had been in stasis for tens of thousands of years, but deep inside, his instincts sharpened more with each passing moment. The ship responded to his presence. Not just the interface, the structure. Walls flexed, power rerouted, systems healed. Wherever he walked, lights glowed softly ahead of his steps. The ship's AI, once a proud sentinel of the Ari doctrine, had gone quiet. Not erased, subjugated. Cain's body continued evolving. He could feel his lungs adjusting to variations in oxygen density. Muscles thickened beneath his skin. His vision pierced infrared, ultraviolet, even partial radiation layers. The enhancements his kind once built into armor were now rebuilding themselves inside him. There was no ceremony when Earth came into view. No drums, no voices, no trumpets. Just silence. The planet rotated beneath a thin halo of golden rings, orbital constructs, glimmering like angelic cages. The surface appeared overgrown, tangled with forest and vine, dotted with what might once have been cities. Cain recognized none of it. A field of derelict satellites orbited the planet, some ancient Terran tech, most alien. At the center of it all, a massive station labeled Preservation Core 01, a Conglomerate authority platform. He didn't request docking clearance. He simply descended. Earth's atmosphere tasted bitter. Cain stepped off the landing ramp of the Thari battleship and onto overgrown stone. Grass crunched under his feet. Trees had split the remains of buildings in two. Vines wrapped around shattered skyscrapers, their roots curling through glass and bone. This had once been a city. He couldn't tell which. The layout felt Terran. The scars of orbital bombardment and acid rain told the rest of the story. They hadn't just archived Earth. They had erased it. A drone buzzed overhead. Then, too, they clicked and whirred in alien tongues. Unauthorized biological presence detected. A synthetic voice rang out in interstellar common. Withdraw. Earth is protected. Cain didn't answer. He reached out with his mind. Not with thought, but something deeper. Intent. The drones froze midair. Their wings stuttered. One by one, they fell from the sky like metallic insects dying in autumn. A shimmer appeared nearby. A cloaked observer deactivating. A bipedal figure stepped into view. Not human. A hybrid of sorts, tall, angular, scaled down one side of his face, with mechanical augments wired into his spine. The figure didn't attack. He knelt. "Are you him?" the hybrid asked, voice shaking. "The one who sleeps beneath the moons?" Cain said nothing. "I've studied your myths," the hybrid continued. "Some said you were just code, a failed weapon, but the stars shifted when you awoke. The preservers panicked. The Conglomerate sent 12 fleets. You didn't fall." Cain stepped forward. "Who are you?" "My name is Jalen. I'm one of the keepers. We live underground, hide in forgotten zones. We study the old world." Cain nodded. "And what do you want?" Jalen rose slowly. "To see it rebuilt. Not by machines. Not by the ones who chained this world, but by what came before." Cain turned his eyes toward the horizon. Across the city, ruined towers whispered to him. So did the wind. Underneath, he felt it. Machinery buried deep in the crust. Sentinels long dormant, waiting for a command signal lost for millennia. He extended his hand toward the soil. The earth responded. A tremor rippled through the ground. Broken concrete split. A pulse surged outward. Old world satellites blinked back online. Ancient orbital defense systems flickered. Deep-sea vaults spun up their cores. The planet remembered him. So did the galaxy. Above Earth, the Conglomerate fleets began to arrive. Hundreds of ships, dreadnoughts, psychic stormcasters, planetary disassemblers. Their command issued a broadcast. "You are unauthorized. Earth is under Conglomerate preservation protocol. Prepare for full system disintegration." Cain stepped onto a plateau overlooking the ruined city. His skin shimmered faintly now, threads of light dancing under the surface. His heartbeat synced with Earth's field. He looked up at the fleet. Then he spoke a single word, ancient and raw, something in old Terran command script. The sky answered. The orbital rings activated, firing not missiles but light. Not destructive energy, but awakening signals. Every buried AI, every lost satellite, every ancient defense. Rebooted. Jalen gasped. What did you do? Cain's voice was quiet, but unshakable. I told Earth to wake up. Nothing could resist him. The skies above Earth churned with fire and light. Hundreds of conglomerate warships shifted into battle formations. Dreadnoughts aligned their weapons. Psychic relays shimmered with storm energy. Planetary disintegration beams warmed like solar flares about to ignite. But they hesitated, because Earth was moving. The orbital constructs, ancient Terran rings left dormant for over 20 millennia, spun awake like sleeping giants. Great columns of amber light reached from the soil to the sky, carrying encrypted pulses only old-world Terran tech could read. In their command decks, conglomerate admirals barked orders. Fire before it fully reactivates. Neutralize the human entity. Unleash disassembly wave Alpha. But it was already too late. Cain stood alone on the shattered plateau. His silhouette glowed faintly, strands of quantum light trailing behind him like auroras. His eyes reflected the stars, and more. He lifted a hand, and the first fleet stopped. Not because of an explosion, not because of gravity or force, because they forgot how to move. Cain's consciousness had reached them, commanded them. Their systems, built on stolen fragments of old Terran code, recognized them. The root access embedded in every circuit, every override switch, bent to one signal. Prime Authority confirmed. The conglomerate's greatest weapons had unknowingly made themselves vulnerable to the only species they believed extinct. Ships veered from formation. Drones reversed mid-course. Targeting systems blinked into standby. And then the sky changed. Earth itself responded. Massive towers rose from ocean floors, hurling sheets of nanosteel into the atmosphere. Terraforming sentinels, long buried beneath glaciers, cracked open like titans shedding old skin. Ancient mechs, each the size of a mountain, powered up with a groan that shook the clouds. Across the planet, in every forgotten ruin and overgrown husk, Earth's lost defense systems reawakened, not just as weapons, but as limbs of a singular mind. Cain's. He was no longer just man. He was the voice of Earth's memory, the embodiment of what humanity had once become before it fell silent. The conglomerate's second fleet tried to retreat. Engines fired. Cain extended both arms. Space twisted, not exploded, folded. The ships never screamed, never cracked. They simply ceased to be. The vacuum they left behind collapsed in on itself like a ripple in time. On the ground, Jalen watched in awe, mouth open. You didn't kill them, he whispered. Cain looked down at him. I didn't need to. You could destroy the galaxy. I could, Cain admitted, his voice calm. But destruction was what ended us the first time. Jalen frowned. Then what are you going to do? Cain turned back to the sky. Remind them. At Conglomerate High Command, thousands of light years away, panic broke out. Every channel buzzed with footage. Fleets halting mid-space. Defense systems ignoring override commands. Earth pulsing with golden light as a lone figure stood unmoving at its center. Their most powerful weapon fleets had vanished. Not annihilated, but unmade. The whispers spread faster than any ship. He's back. The first flame walks again. The human world is awake. Nothing resists him. But Cain did not pursue vengeance. Instead, he sent a message. It pulsed through every network, across every language, tuned into the neural feeds of every sentient species. It said only this. We built stars once. We fell asleep. Now we are awake. Earth is not a tomb. It is a beacon. We will not conquer. We will remember. Join us or fall behind. It wasn't a threat. It was a reminder of what humans had been before they broke themselves. And now, what they could become again. The conglomerate fractured. Member species long oppressed rose in defiance, emboldened by Cain's awakening. Entire colonies broke from control and sent emissaries to Earth. Cain did not sit on a throne. He did not command an army. He walked among forests, whispering to machines buried beneath roots. He taught the surviving hybrids how to listen to the world, not just extract from it. He unearthed libraries, not of weapons, but of knowledge, medicine, culture, memory. Where Cain stepped, old cities rebuilt themselves. Where he looked, satellites turned like obedient dogs. No one resisted, because resistance wasn't met with war. It was met with understanding. And no weapon in the galaxy could stand against that. Not anymore.